This is Philip H. Anselmo from the rock band Superjoint Ritual. MTV2 had a list of bands, a list of music that was adequate enough to show you, I guess, the roots of true heavy metal and how it began and became. And heavy metal is absolutely timeless, and that's why I'm doing this show. And coming up, obviously, we have Led Zeppelin, who I feel were extremely important for their time in the influence of true heavy metal, and etc., etc. But right now, the kings of heavy metal, the guitar sound was ominous, horrifying, yet when you heard it, you know exactly who it is playing that guitar. And to that right there, to me, is the absolute pinnacle of what a band is. The second you hear it, you know it's them. And the vocals with this band were even scarier. And ladies and gentlemen, anyhow, this is Black Sabbath with Iron Man. This is Philip H. Anselmo back on the Philip H. Anselmo Extreme Metal Hour. This next video is from a band that respectfully, they didn't care if they were absolutely wasted, or they sang about being drunk, they sang about pills, they sang about everything you can imagine, for the time. And the time was the 70s, I believe, and they lasted throughout the 90s, maybe even the early 2000s, I'm not positive. However, this is the Ramones with I Want to Be Sedated. Coming up, we got one of my favorite bands of all times, and this is definitely not one of my favorite songs of all times, but it's definitely one of the only videos you could ever track down by this band, and that's Black Flag, and that's coming up for sure. And right now, we're gonna go back to the very early 80s, where they had a different singer, and this is Iron Maiden. They were on the coattails of Judas Priest. They came right after, and a lot of their material was done during as well. But right now, no offense to Bruce Dickinson at all, because he is also a great heavy metal singer, but this is one of my favorite Iron Maiden songs. This is one called Wrathchild with Paul Di'Anno. Alright, man, this is Philip H. Anselmo, and you are watching the Extreme Music Hour with Philip Anselmo. And right now, I think that this is the most important band in heavy metal ever. A lot of people would disagree with me. A lot of people would whine and cry about this band or that band, but there was never a band so copied, so obviously copied, to the point where the bands would just admit it straight up. Who's your favorite band? Who's your biggest influence? Slayer, 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 Slayer. If you In the early 80s, if you had the misfortune of opening for Slayer, you had, it didn't matter how badass you were, at the end of your first song, you would only hear shouts of Slayer, 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 and they would do that and get more and more violent throughout your entire set. Thank God that never happened to me, but I've heard horror stories. Anyway, look, this song is beautiful. This is off of the LP Rain in Blood. The song is Raining Blood.
It's more mind-blowing music and ass-kicking artists than you can handle. MTV2's 2 hour of Block and Metal hits the air this week with host Jamie Josta from Hatebreed and special guest Mudvayne. Next Saturday at 10, only on MTV2.
Alright, this is Philip Anselmo once again reminding you that the Blackest of the Black tour starts October 24th and ends November the 20th. And all I know about it right now is that it's us, Superjoint Ritual, and a handful of bands. And the headliner is Glenn Danzig. And I gotta say this straight up in a way that he is one of the most underrated and down to earth, and he remembers where others have come from as well as himself, so that makes him extra cool, and I want to thank him personally from the Superjoint Ritual circle. Thank you very much for having us again. And coming up in a little while, we are going to do some Superjoint videos, and one of them is called Waiting for the Turning Point, and it's insanely badass. But right now, you are in the midst of your enemy. Thanks.